She never said her name, but I can still see her face, clearer every time I close my eyes. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm a night shift taxi driver. My old car has a faded paint job and a patched up meter, but it still gets the job done without embarrassing me. The work's tiring, sure, but simple enough. Pick up, drop off, collect the fare. Just enough to get by. What I love most is the quiet, empty roads after midnight, the rhythm of blinking streetlights on the expressway, the soft hum of the radio filling just enough of the silence to keep me awake. I prefer nights over days. No traffic jams, no small talk, no crowds. One night, a night I won't forget. It was a Friday, end of the month. The rain had just stopped. A thick mist settled low across the road, and I could see it clearly through the windshield. I had just dropped someone off from a bar in the outskirts and was heading home on my usual route, a road that runs along the railway. It's darker, more isolated than the main roads, but I've taken it hundreds of times. I know every turn. It was around 1 a.m. The road was unusually empty. Even other taxis were nowhere to be seen. Then I saw something on the side of the road. At first, I thought I was imagining it. A faint figure standing near the shoulder, just beside an old bus stop that hadn't been used in years. A woman. She was just standing there. Still. She didn't wave. Didn't even look at me. But she didn't walk away either. I slowed down on instinct. It's something you learn when you've driven long enough. If someone's standing there at this hour, they probably need help, even if they don't ask for it. As I got closer, I could see her outfit. Neat, long-sleeved blouse, knee-length skirt, straight long hair tucked behind one ear. She wasn't flashy, just clean, quiet. She looked more like a university student than someone coming back from a night out. I rolled the window down halfway and asked, "Out this late? Where are you headed?" She slowly lifted her face. Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. "To the temple. Wat Samian Nari." That temple was just a few kilometers ahead, not far from my place. I nodded and unlocked the rear door. She got in silently, without another word. The moment she sat down, a faint scent of baby powder or soap drifted into the cabin. I kept driving in silence. The radio was still on, but I could barely hear it now. She sat upright, didn't look out the window, didn't check her phone, didn't even move, like a statue. I started to feel a chill, even though the AC wasn't on high at all. I tried not to look at the rearview mirror too often. Normally, I'd glance back every now and then to check on passengers. But with this woman, I don't know. I felt like if I looked too long, I might see something I wasn't supposed to. As I drove, I tried to make conversation, just to break the silence that was quickly turning from peaceful to oppressive. "Do you study around here?" I cleared my throat and tried again. "Going to the temple alone this late?" Her reply came softly, like a voice through fog. "I have to get there before 3 a.m. That made me frown. Before 3? What did that mean? She didn't say anything else. Trees on the roadside began to block out the light from the main road. It was darker than usual, unnaturally so. I glanced at the mirror again. She was still sitting there, perfectly still, staring straight ahead, not blinking, not moving. Without realizing it, my hands had turned cold. Even though I knew this area well, I suddenly felt unsure. There was a turn coming up, a shortcut, but something made me hesitate. So I asked cautiously, "Do you usually enter the temple from the main gate, or that side alley?" Silence. Then, without warning, the radio, which had been playing softly the whole time, cut off completely, like someone had switched it off. My hands were still firmly on the wheel, no static, no crackle, just silence. Now, the only sound in the car was my own breathing, growing faster. Then she spoke again. "Go straight, don't turn." Her tone was flat, emotionless. I hesitated. That road ahead wasn't lit, no houses, no traffic, and it certainly didn't lead to the temple. "Miss, the temple isn't that way," I said as calmly as I could. "I think we should. Don't turn." This time her voice was louder but cold, like wind blowing through a metal pipe. And then I smelled something, a faint scent of burning incense, mixing with my own breath, even though every window in the car was shut tight. I could feel something pressing down in the air, like the space inside the car had gotten heavier, thicker. One of my hands reached to switch off the radio, even though it was already off. I just needed to do something, anything, to stay grounded. Then I spoke. "Miss, I think..." But she interrupted me. "If you turn, you won't make it." I didn't understand what she meant, but her words echoed in my mind, like a warning from something not human. I was torn between fear and instinct. My gut knew the road ahead wasn't safe, and yet, in that moment, I pressed down on the gas and kept driving straight, just like she said. I don't know why. I don't know if I was afraid of something or of someone. The road was narrower and darker than I expected. Trees from both sides reached over like they were trying to swallow the headlights whole. I remembered driving through this area before, but I had never noticed this turn. It looked more like a service lane or a dead end than a proper road. The GPS on my phone had already shut off. The screen was black. No signal. Not even the little car icon showing where we were. It felt like we had driven off the edge of the real world. The woman still sat in silence. No sound. No instructions. No hint that she might change her mind. My thoughts started to spiral. What if she did something? What would I do? Even though, in truth, she hadn't moved a muscle. The tires crunched over gravel and dirt. A cloud of dust kicked up, caught in the headlights like a floating curtain. I had no idea how far we'd gone, but I could feel it. This wasn't a place people were supposed to be. The side mirror reflected tall trees that looked too tall, like they were leaning in, following us quietly. Then she spoke. "Not much farther." I flinched. Her voice was soft, but it sliced right through the silence. "We're at the temple already?" I asked, though I was no longer sure of anything. She didn't answer. I noticed a flicker of light deeper in the trees. A steady pale glow, like a fluorescent bulb. But it didn't flicker like normal light, and there were no poles holding it up. Something was out there, waiting. "I think we should turn around," I said without thinking. "I can drop you off at the front of the temple." Silence, long enough to make me uneasy. I turned slowly. The back seat was empty. No one was there. The faint smell of incense that had filled the car was gone, replaced by the stale scent of old seat fabric, something I'd never even noticed before. I hit the brakes, heart pounding, hands shaking. I looked down at the floor, no trace, no bag, not even the faint imprint of shoe soles. The car was still moving, So where did she go? There was no sound of a door opening, no weight shifting, nothing. I reached for my phone, still no display, screen completely black. Then, something whispered by the window, soft as breath. "You're here." I couldn't turn my head, but in the rear-view mirror, she was there again, sitting, still as stone, eyes wide open, staring directly at me. For a few seconds I couldn't breathe, then instinct took over. I spun the wheel and hit the gas. There was no scream, no hand grabbing me, no force pulling me back. Just silence, like I just escaped something I couldn't name. When I made it back to the main road, my phone came back to life instantly. The GPS showed our last known location, unnamed dead end, less than a kilometer from Wat Samian Nari. I never saw that woman again. But ever since that night, every time I drive past that old bus stop in the dark, I can't help but imagine she's still there, not waving, just standing, waiting, like that night never ended. The next day, I hadn't truly slept at all, just drifted in and out, with the faint smell of incense slipping into my dreams. Instead of heading out to work like usual, I found myself driving toward an old gas station where a bunch of taxi drivers usually hung out. There were all kinds of drivers there, older guys, seasoned pros, and others around my age. I didn't know how to bring it up, so I started casually. "I dropped someone off near Wat Samian Nari last night. Any of you ever drive that stretch late at night?" One uncle sipping coffee glanced up. "That road? Be careful if you're out there after dark." "Why's that?" I asked, playing dumb. He looked at me without smiling. "Some folks have picked her up too, but she disappears before they reach the temple." My heartbeat ticked up a little, but I kept quiet. Sometimes she's wearing a student uniform, sometimes it's a plain white dress, but it's always the same destination, Wat Samian Nari. Another driver nearby, rinsing his car, chimed in. "I've smelled incense in my cab while driving past that stop, even though no one was in the car. It was summer, but inside went cold, gave me chills." "Does anyone know who she is?" I asked softly. There was a pause. Then the uncle spoke again, slowly, like he was trying to recall. "Heard a story from decades back. A woman got hit by a train behind the temple. They said her body was torn in two. No one dared move her that night. It was too late, too dark." He looked down, then added quietly, "Some drivers who picked her up made it home. Others panicked, lost control, crashed, or veered off the road in fear. Some didn't even remember what happened." That last sentence hung heavy in the air. No one said anything for a moment. I didn't press further, just nodded, thanked them, and headed back to my car. As I sat behind the wheel, I could feel something still clinging to me. Not just the story, not just the scent of incense, but a presence, like something or someone was still close by. And every time I hear the words, "You're here," that voice still echoes in my head. What about you? Have you ever experienced something strange on your way home? Maybe picked up a passenger who made you wonder if they were ever really alive at all? Or maybe you've heard stories like this from a friend, a fellow driver, or someone in your town. If you have, I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss more true horror stories like this from every hidden corner of Thailand, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are still stories out there that may never have been told. Thanks for listening.